What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. And my guest for today's episode is Tommy Hellfire. Some of you may know him as Anthony on Mafs, which is Anthony's his shoot name, but we'll be calling him Tommy. Who knows? We might call him Anthony in this as well. But I'm excited to have Tommy Hellfire back on the show. Me and Tommy have actually got to work together on a couple, or not me work with him on a couple shows, but work on the same shows together. It's always great to catch up with Tommy Hellfire and have a chat. Amazing dude, amazing story, and we're going to get into so much in this episode. But before we do, I need to take a quick second to tell you about Sleefs. Now, that's SLEEFS. Now, if someone you know or you yourself is an athlete, you need to go and check out Sleefs. They've got some of the best athletic gear and clothing that you are looking for. They've got headbands, they've got mouth guards, they've got compression pants, they've got arm sleeves, they've got compression socks, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty fucking boxes that you always hear me raving about. So do yourself a favor, go and check out sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, if you want to support the Dad Bod God, which is myself, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment, all that good shit. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. I appreciate it. And also, just recently, we've launched on Wrestler merch. So that's Wrestler merch. Piers Austin, search it. We've got some amazing designs up there, and we're going to have more coming later this month. So go and check out, get yourself a shirt, and become a Piers Austin Shooting the Shit Uncensored supporter. But without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Tommy motherfucking Hellfire. Yeah!
My God, man, I love that intro. It's like going through like when you watch those things where they do like a different photo every day for 10 years or whatever. I just watched the evolution of Piers Austin, just like
yeah, the receding hairline till I've gone completely bald. That was exactly right. It's the podcasting aging me. But bro, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I'm excited to have you on. As I was saying in the intro, man, every time I get a chance to talk with you, bro, like we always end up having like just great conversations. So I'm excited to have you back on the show, man. It's definitely been a while.
Epic, brother. You're one of the good ones, definitely.
Oh, man, don't tell too many people that, bro. I've got a reputation to uphold. Fuck.
I know, right? Nobody will want to talk to you anymore. Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Also, I think I asked last time, the boxes, the sleeves with the trunk on the front. Do I get a discount code for those as well? Or?
Absolutely, man. Go check him out. Tell him I sent you. You won't do anything for you, won't do anything for me. But hell, it's always good when someone's saying my name, right? So.
Exactly. You'd rather be spoken about than not. Yeah, exactly. I just feel like a Christmas present for my missus. I'll just get one of those ones with the elephant thing on the front there. It's more, as we say, more for me than it is for her.
You can get your own face printed on them as well.
Holy shit! There's a contraceptive if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about it, dude. So, but I tell you what, man. I like not to keep plugging sleeves, but like they are pretty good. Like those dirty boxes, that's all I wear, man, and they are the most comfortable boxes. Seriously, they're unreal. So they're definitely worth checking.
Yeah. All right. I'll give them a look. I'm in it for the novelty. I'll get the ones with your face on it.
That's it. I'll send you the artwork. Yeah. The beard will be where the balls sit.
How you
But dude,
been, brother?
I've been good, man. I've been good. What about you, bro? You've actually been like, you've gone overseas, you've gone and done a bit of traveling, you're doing a bit of
Oh my god,
modeling. Like, what's been going on with you?
modeling. No, man. Like after the math stuff finished and all that sort of stuff happened, I came back. I started wrestling again. I came back home to PCW. That's my like wrestling. Everybody sort of got a home base.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
PCW is very much my home base. So I came back and started working with them. Eventually rose the ranks. I won their heavyweight title. Became a Polish man ambassador. So we're raising awareness for, like 1 in 3 women and children will experience domestic violence in their life, which is something that I experienced as a child. So I was very, very fortunate I was very fortunate to become an ambassador for this cause. So we're able to raise a lot of money for them. So people sort of like have the ability to had the resources that I didn't have back in the 90s. So like
Yeah.
counseling and trauma counseling and all that sort of stuff. And eventually after a while, man, geez, it took its toll on me, everything that was going on. So me and my partner, we got on a plane and we went to Italy for a month. I know,
Oh,
right? What
geez.
a hard life.
That's so
Jesus, what a
terrible.
hard life. I know.
But
Hard life.
how did you get mixed? How did you get involved working with this group? Because I think domestic violence is something that now there's so much more opportunities and for things for women and men in these situations to get out of. But how did you get involved in it? Like, this is obviously something you've been very passionate about for a long time, right?
Yeah, it's something that I was incredibly passionate about. Like I grew up, a lot of people sort of, talk, a lot of people sort of, how would you put it? You talk about it, but everybody seems to identify with some sort of trauma in their life, and it sort of becomes like a bit of a badge for them. For me, it was something that I never really spoke about, but I was always a very empathetic and sympathetic ear when talking to people. So I grew up with we had alcoholic step parents on both sides of the table, my mother's side and my father's side.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, on my mother's side and my father's side. So, I used to go to school hiding bruises on my body. And then, like when you think you get a break from it, you go to your dad's place. And I remember on my dad's 40th birthday, his wife actually locked him out of the house, changed the keys on the door. So there was no real reprieve growing up. And like there's other memories that like sort of happened where you just sort of accept it as normal. Like when my parents separated, my dad had to he lived in a caravan at the back of his shop. So whenever we go to visit our dad, we'd all be sleeping head to tail. We had a little bucket that he got from Kmart. So he goes into the outdoor shower and he pour the water, or into the outdoor toilet, he pour the water over the top to so we could wash and all that sort of stuff. To us, this was just like normal life. But the more you talk about it to people, the more you kind of realize it's not so normal. But at the same time, you're not the only one that sort of goes through these issues. So for me, I was diagnosed with ADD at a very young age. So being diagnosed with ADD, and this was back in the 90s, right? So it's not like now where it's like, people, and I don't really care who I offend with this. It's not
No,
like
no.
people now who, use ADHD as a label. Oh, I'm so ADHD and blah, blah, blah. This was
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
90s. So for me in the 90s, it was, as it was described to me by people close to me, people in my family, you're either stupid or you're not stupid. So when you
yeah.
get that diagnosis, then you're stupid, right? So,
Mm.
so for me, there was always like that escapism. I'd always be looking out the window. I'd always be less tentative. I'd always make a weird, awkward joke because I didn't understand the situation or I just wasn't paying attention. So I'd, like cop the garden hose or something like that. And it got to the point like, well, it was just always an escalation, so all the mental health issues that go with that, I went to bed until I was like 14 years old,
Wow.
so, you go to school and kids will make fun of you for, smelling and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. And
yeah.
how
Kids are
forgiving
pricks.
children are. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
kids are assholes, man.
I've got
Kids
three of
are
them. I
total
know.
assholes. So with me, and anybody who knows me in my real life knows that there is a lot of bravado. There's like a macho energy about me. But when you actually get to talk to me like this, you know, that this is the Anthony that you saw on Mafs, that sort of vulnerable side of me.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about embracing that vulnerable side. You know, you hang out with me, like, you know, we chat or whatever when we actually see each other in person. You know, I'm one of the boys. I'm, you know, very loud and very boisterous. So, you know, I'm not afraid of making a, you know, off-color joke and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, when it comes to issues like this, especially with children, especially with women, nobody should ever feel like they
don't have an
you know, like,
escape. They're trapped.
they don't have an escape, or they don't have that resource to fall back on. So as a kid, you know, you couldn't go to school and tell anybody because nobody would do anything about it or whatever. It was a sign of weakness. You know, and I remember saying to, you know, my stepfather once, you know, like, oh, if you keep doing that, I'll go to the police. And he just kind of laughed at me. And he's like, then what? Who's going to do anything? And I'd say it to my dad, you know, like, oh, this is what happened. And my dad would just not do anything about it, you know. So there was this lack of male role models growing up. So as time goes by and you're growing up without these male role models, it gives you like a skew sort of version of the earth and, you know, like your place in the earth. So, you know, there's probably a lot of people over the years in wrestling that probably feel a little bit burnt by me. And that's probably, you know, like a lot of that, you know, could be on my end, a projection mechanism, you know. So over the last couple of years, I myself,
like when you say projection mechanism, you mean like, you know, I mean,
protection.
To stop people getting close to you, you know what I mean? Like you'll just keep everyone at arm's length, right?
Yeah, I'll be a bit of a prick and I'll keep you at arm's length here and there, you know what I mean? Like, and I understand that, and that's my cross to bear. But like over the last few years, you know, like you end up, and part of that sort of that whole growing up in trauma is, and I've always said this, and it's like if you go anywhere in the world, crazy will always find crazy.
100%.
So junkies, you put a junkie anywhere in the world, and unfortunately, they'll sniff out another junkie. They just know each other. When you've gone through trauma as a child, you tend to gravitate towards those sort of crowds, you know. So with me, you end up in those relationships with other people who've been through same things. And the problem is you can't fix yourself. So you can't be expected to fix somebody else. And it becomes like you're almost replacing one situation with another situation, with another situation, with another situation. And as I discovered through counseling, I don't know where the quote came from, but the war's got to end sometime.
Yeah.
And I think I found that out. So a lot of my trauma had to do with particularly my stepfather, especially not having any sort of like healthy male role models in my life. I had my grandfather who was amazing, but you don't, as a kid and as an adult, you never want the role model that you got. You want the role model that you want to have, you know, so you're always looking for that sort of approval.
Yeah.
So through the counseling and all that sort of stuff, I was most particularly affected by that individual. There was other incidences of other people, which, you know, I'll probably get into another time. But
Sure.
that was the worst one. But like for me, the counselor said to me, because you know, like you have an argument with somebody, like this is just small scale. You have an argument with somebody and you sit up there at night and you're thinking about, like, motherfucker, oh God, I should have said this.
Shit. Festering, right?
Yeah, like George Costanza driving back, you know, like,
yeah.
Well, yeah. You know,
The conversation you have in your head.
Yeah. Now imagine that like every day for like 20 years, right? Or even longer. You know, if I could go back in time, what I would say to that person, what I would do to that person, what I would blah, blah, blah. And that would affect my life. You know, like somebody gives me shit about something, or if I'm in a relationship with somebody and I'm upset about something, well, how the fuck would you know? How would you understand? So you push people away because you're protecting yourself. I was very fortunate enough. I had an amazing counselor at the time. And when we're talking, she said to me, she goes, so this person obviously has a space in your head. And to me, it was like, yeah, he does. But because of this and because of that and blah, blah, blah. And she said to me, well, what if you don't have a space in his head? What if he's not thinking about you the way that you're thinking about him? And I was just like so offended when she said that because, as I say, like nobody could possibly know what I'm going through. How so she said that to me. How would, like, what if they're not, what if they're not thinking about you the same way that you're thinking about them? So to me, at first, I got the shits with her because, like we're talking about it. When you're talking about stuff that's so like emotionally heightening, you get on the back foot. Yeah, you get on the back foot. And I left that session and I was on the back foot after I left that session. But, like when you lie in bed at night and obviously you think about all the embarrassing things in your life, that kept coming back to me. That particularly that incident kept coming back to me. What she said, well, what if they're not thinking about you the same way that you're thinking about them? What if the only person in this toxic relationship that you've got going on here, and I know toxic relationships is a buzzword at the moment, but what if this person that's affecting your life so much isn't actually thinking about you the way you're thinking about them? You're never going to get the apology. You're never going to get what you want out of them. All they're doing is they're still hurting you without actually actively doing anything. And that sort of, it was like one of those penny drops, like the end of Usual Suspects. I dropped everything, like holy shit, that was Kaiser Jose. I had my moment of realization, and it put it in this perspective for me that like the only person hanging on to this is me. The only person this is affecting is me. This is affecting my ability to be a father. This is affecting my ability to be in a relationship, to be in a romantic relationship. This is affecting my ability to be open and honest with my family, because every time I speak to my family, I get the shits, you know what I mean? So I'd always be pushing people away. So when she said that, it just sort of like changed a lot for me. And I remember being in a relationship at the time, and my partner, she went through similar things with her parents, and like we just sort of like, tick for tacky sort of thing. And it just got to that point like the war's going to end for me sometime. So I sort of let it all go. And I did a post about it recently when I announced that I was going to be a Polish Man ambassador. And in the post, I compared it to this movie I watched growing up. And I'm sure lots of people have seen it. It's called The Labyrinth. Have you seen it?
Yep.
Jennifer Connelly? Yep. Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. So the whole movie, he's leading her through this big labyrinth and he's making her jump through all these hoops, but he's doing it because that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
When really she didn't really want it, but that's, like, it's like that whole gaslight sort of thing. Well, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. I'm giving you what you wanted. And it wasn't until the last scene of the movie where she's trying to remember the words to the book to end the thing. And she says to him, yeah, my will is as strong as yours. You have no power over me. And when she says those words out loud, it becomes real. And when it becomes real, he disappears. So for me, it was one of those moments where I had been through the ringer. I'd been through all that sort of stuff. This person has no power over me. If I was to walk past this person in the street, I wouldn't even look sideways at them. Like, it's just whatever. Like you're not like, you're not.
He hasn't got that power over you anymore. But is he still in your life? Is he still married to your mum?
No. Oh shit, no. He's I have two brothers that are his father. So, obviously when I speak about this person, I speak about my feelings.
Sure.
I never, like say anything nasty or horrible or anything like that. I speak about my experiences and how it made me feel and where I am at the moment. But there was a lot of incidences there. Like, as a 16-year-old, I was living in community housing. I had to eventually drop out of high school because I lived in 7 different houses in the space of like 1 year. In the space of 8 months, I got kicked out of like 7 different houses.
Was that like foster care or?
Foster care, community housing, friends' couches, and then eventually I was just sort of couch hopping, and I was very sick. And my grandparents, actually, God bless them, came and picked me up. Came and picked me up and took me back to their house, and I ended up staying with my grandparents for a while. But it was just like this constant sort of, stream of just mistakes after mistakes after mistakes after, and I'm the first to admit it, like I very capable of shooting myself in the foot. And a lot of times when that happens, it's like it's a self-esteem thing. Like you see yourself on a certain plane. And it's happened to me in wrestling. I will step in the ring with people who I see as above me. And because of like that whole self-esteem things that you grew up with, you'll purposely shoot yourself in the foot. You won't give it 100% or whatever, or you'll just or you'll fail to prepare for it adequately, and it'll leave a bad taste in their mouth. There's nothing like as an actual capable athlete or as a capable wrestling mind, I'm totally fine. But over the years, these things have sort of like popped up and plagued me. And it's only after the last, couple of years where you just sort of think, it's the same thing as I said, if I was to walk past, say, that one person in the street. So, well, like, who the fuck are you? You're just a person like I am a person.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like with wrestling, like we learn to respect each other and all that sort of stuff. But like at the end of the day, you're just a person like I am just a person, and together we work together. So there's a lot of self-esteem issues that have, like stuck with me over the years. There's a lot of things said about like growing up about my appearance, about my learning capabilities, about my abilities, like to focus on things, like basically you're ugly and you're stupid. All that sort of stuff, like it's just a constant sort of battle for me. So, like getting into wrestling, it was very much a lot of bravado, but a lot of lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
And over the last sort of couple of years, I've managed to sort of, I don't know, like funnel that into like a good energy, like especially with PCW. I get to work with a lot of good guys there, a lot of rising stars and, like people who I consider like, like one day I'll be like telling people, I got to work with that person. I got to work with that person, like you see like, at the moment, like see Buddy Matthews on TV, like back then it was one of those things where you're in your head, you don't really appreciate it as much now. But I got to work with him, I've got to work with a lot of big names, Elliot Sexton, or whatever his name is on NXT now. I got to work. I got to work with these guys. But at the time, you're in your own head when it comes to working with these people. You see them in a certain light, and you don't see that for yourself. So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit. So, but with the counseling and with all that sort of stuff, you kind of realize, like, hey, fuck, I belong there. I belong in that level. I missed my boat. I'm too old now to be where they are. I missed that boat. If I knew now if I knew back then what I know now, it would be, you never know, it could be a different story.
But that's always being hindsight 2020. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But right now for me, it's that whole point, like, I got my moment in the sun. I've done like a lot of like, like fun movies. I've done Married at First Sight. I've done a whole lot of stuff. And with all these realizations and all this sort of stuff, I've got an amazing partner who, puts up with all my shit. And she knows when, I can very capably, if I say something stupid, I can look at her and just say, I just shot myself in the foot. She go, yeah, you did. So I can apologize.
That's when you know you got a good one, when she can just go, yeah, you did, and move on with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You did shoot yourself in the foot, you fucking idiot.
You're sleeping on the couch tonight, Anthony, but good one.
Yeah. She'll want me back as soon as she sees my sleeve underwear. But but like also and the ability, like, when you push people away, and this as being a father.
Yeah.
You can't be pushing people away. You can't be closed off. You need to be open. You need to be receptive. You need to be patient and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of the times I never really had any of those skills, and it was affecting me as a father. So when that woman told me that, it was able to open that door for me to be a better father, because I wasn't holding on to any thing, like, because I don't know if you felt this way, but as a kid, my dad would always say, or like, oh, you think you've got it bad, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So my dad would always tell me these stories, and to me, those stories always seemed really fucking tame compared to what I was going through at the time. 100%. And in hindsight, they were.
Yeah. But you know
incredibly
what?
tame.
You know what's interesting, because like you and me are around about the same age, and I think like when we were growing up in the 90s and stuff like that, like everyone was being diagnosed with ADHD or ADD and stuff like
Oh
that
my
at the
god,
time,
yeah,
and it was like
yeah,
Ritalin was like the fucking poster child for the 90s. But
dude, yeah,
when we were growing up, like if you had depression, you had like whatever it was going through, oh, there's something wrong with you. He's not
yeah.
the full kid.
You
You know
didn't
what I
have
mean?
the resource. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think like you know what I mean. Like one thing I remember is like, come on, mate, you just need to man up. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and that's the thing. Whereas I think now, 2022, you know, everyone is a bit more like you look at suicide rates in men, and I think it's like, fuck, like I think it's like every 9 minutes or something like that. Like it's something ridiculous
it's
number. Like I don't want to shoot
it's
the
insane.
statistics,
No,
but
no, it's insane. It's insane. We have all these resources and we have all this mental health awareness, but suicide is still such a huge prevalent problem. You know, like, and I'm all for the you got to man up, but at the same time, I'm for the you need to healthy man up.
yeah,
Beating your chest and yelling at other people is not going to change anything. There's a healthy way to man up. But yeah, man, like it's quite incredible. Like we lost somebody in Melbourne recently, one of a ring announcer,
nice.
Bass. You know, and like I'd known him for like going on 16 years. You know, and you travel up and down the road with people, and over the years, like that whole me protecting myself type of thing, you fall out with people, and you patch it up, but you don't all the way patch it up, but you still, every time you see each other, you're still friendly and you're still that. And then you hear news like that, and it's like, well, I didn't know, but like
No
nobody
one
knows, no one knows. No one knows
because
exactly what
that's
you're
the thing
going
with
through.
that's the thing with depression. What depression does is it goes, oh, you feel like shit. Okay, cool. Yeah, you know you can go reach out to like your best friend, your wife, your mother, your this, you that. You could have the best support system in the world, but when someone has depression, there's this little switch in their mind going, they don't want to hear your problems. No, 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 no. We want to keep you in this fucking pit of misery. No, no, no. You stay here. We want you to feel like this. And that's why
Mm,
that shit fucking piles on and piles on and piles on. And like people with depression then start thinking in their mind, and a lot of the cases where it's like, oh, I'm run down, I'm sick, I've got a backache. Like I had a friend of mine who was so depressed. He's like, I've got such a bad back. You know, my back is really bad. Like that's what he was saying. And then after he started like getting help for his depression, it was like, I was like, dude, how's the back? And he goes, dude, there was nothing ever fucking wrong with my back.
mm.
He goes, but the pain was fucking there. Like it was
You have to
crippled.
materialize it. Yeah,
But
that's
you
what
know what I
some
mean?
people,
Like,
man. Like some people, if they're not feeling something, you have like there's so many young women out there will like scar themselves. Guys will like drink themselves to oblivion because it's not there, it's in your head, but you've got to create that danger. You need to create the reason, like, or you need to externalize it, because depression is an internal thing. So by saying that, like, my back's hurting is the same as like getting on the drinking, or like
yeah.
scarring yourself or something like that. It's Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to have happen, isn't it? But we've all been there. We've all sat around, as I said. You say, and you described it so well. It's like you can go talk to people, but at the same time, healthy people don't go through that stuff, do they? So they don't feel the need to, or they don't quite relate to it. You know what I mean?
But you know what's interesting, bro? Like, I went through a thing a few months ago where I was a bit down, and like my wife was like, "Oh fuck, like I don't know what to do." So she contacts my best mates that I've known since I was kids. And like
Mm,
they literally came to my house one Saturday afternoon. We're taking you to the pub. Let's go. What's going on? Blah blah blah. And they just said to me, they go, look, we're not going to lie to you. Your missus called us. This is what's going on. Speak. What's going on in your head?
mm.
Like, what you're not leaving here until you tell us what's going on. And we literally sat there, like, solving the world's problems one beer at a time, just going through
Yeah.
it. But it was like the first time that I was actually able to sit there with people that I know or people that are friends or whoever and open up and sort of say like shit like that. And these guys were just sitting there going like, holy fuck, we need to get some fucking like Jack Daniels on the table now. Like, this
some
is,
more,
you know what I mean?
alcohol,
like, but you know what I mean? Like it felt like
yeah,
almost like a
a support
therapeutic
network.
thing to do that. And it's like, you know, for that to happen, I was just like, fuck, you know, but the thing is as well, like you even said, like you're the sort of person you'll go and have relationships with these other people that have got these problems because it's almost like that's a distraction for you to be able to forget about your shit. So you don't deal with your shit, but you're dealing with someone else's shit, right? So
Exactly.
I always used to be that same way where I would be like, anytime someone would have a problem, they would come to me because I would be the one who give like some pretty sound advice, or you know, I've always had a bit of an old soul, so a lot of like friends and stuff like that will come to me for advice on a lot of things. And that one of the things my friend said is like, you've always been there to help everybody else. You need to do the right thing and let us help you. And that's the
down.
Huh?
It's disarming, isn't it? It's quite disarming. That to me, I would I would, I don't know. Did you open up straight away, or did you have to do the old talk about something else and then roll into it?
Yeah, it was a roll into it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've you know what I mean? Like I said, I was born in 82. So, you know, like I grew up in a different era, and so did my mates, for example. But it was like at the end of it, we just sat there and it was like three dudes that are 40 years old talking about their feelings and shit. And we're just like, this is unbelievable. But we're like, you know what? Like, it's good that we fucking get this shit out. And it's like, you know what? At the end of it, I felt good. It was like taking a massive dump, like, or you know, just having this like weight of the world taken off your shoulders. I should probably say, as opposed to taking a shit. But you know,
there's the thing though, man. Most people in my life have always sort of hung around and been a lot more stoic. So I always say to my brother, empathy. He has none. My younger brother's probably my closest mate. We sit around when we're talking about what's wrong with us. It's almost like we're just sort of like judging each other or just waiting for the other one to stop so we can change the subject. But you know, that's how Italians do it, I suppose.
That's it, man. But dude, how's life after Mafs? Like, you did Mafs this year.
Yep.
You know, like what opportunities has that really presented you, you know, following being on that show?
Well, the biggest opportunity for me personally was the Polish man thing. So, like, if you head over to my Instagram on my Tommy or my Anthony one, you'll see a big juicy link there to donate. Please do. It's going to an amazing cause. Like, aside from that, mate, like like my wrestling has just been a lot of fun. It's been amazing. Over the last few months, I've had a lot of amazing matches. I've created a lot of great memories and a lot of great friendships. I've noticed though, when you sort of get to that point where you're comfortable, you're not sort of watching your back anymore in wrestling. So you just like, yeah, we'll do this with it. You know what works, and that when you get backstage with your opponent, there's no pissing competitions or anything like that. So that's been incredible. Like with these math shows, a lot of it is you get invited to like special events and all that sort of stuff. So it's always weird. You get to meet people who are doing like cooler shit than you. So it's like, I think it says that self-esteem thing again. You know, like you'll meet somebody, go, "Oh, what are you doing?" And they'll tell you, "Oh, yeah, I'm working on this. I'm working on that. I'll be on this TV show." And you'll be sitting there going, "Oh, what about you?" I wrestle.
I ate a bowl of Cocoa Pops for breakfast.
I'm an adult. I swear to God, I'm an adult. But yeah, no, I just started with a new agent, Rojo agency, and they've been chopping me through a lot of work, and a lot of stuff's been popping up I can't talk about right now. But some big news on the horizon for me, very big news. When I can announce it, I will. I'd love to give you an exclusive.
Please do. Yeah, I'd love that.
But yeah, I'd love to, but I can't, unfortunately. I'm on a gag order. But gag order from it was self-imposed gag order from me and my agent. So like when all this news comes out, it'll be for me personally huge. I don't know how it'll affect the rest of the world, but for me it's massive.
Congrats,
yeah,
man.
it's one of those things. It's like it's a rolling thing, isn't it? You know, it's yeah, you know, like you look at other people doing what you're doing, and yeah, it's sort of like I don't know, if you're not used to sort of this lifestyle, and like with me, I'm a very private person. I've always been a very private person. I've always been really staunchly private. I don't really live my life too much in the spotlight. So like managing this whole, you know, like social media thing and all that sort of stuff is really daunting
Yeah.
because
Well, now it's like you're becoming an influencer, really. Like it's
yeah, yeah, and you get hit up by brands and all that sort of stuff, and you're like, shit. For me, you know, you'll go to an event and then you know, you create you know, you have fun with it. But at the same
yeah.
time, yeah, it is quite daunting if you're not used to it. If you're used to just sort of being left alone, and all of a sudden you're in the public spotlight, yeah, it's very daunting.
Was
But you
that
know,
like
like
oh sorry, I was just gonna say, like, was that like really strange for you? Like, I suppose like the wrestling side of things, like you used to being in the public eye, but being on like a national television on like a Channel 9 show at primetime television, like when you came off that show and went out into the public or the show was released,
yeah,
were you like overwhelmed by the amount of people that were just sort of like swamping you?
yeah, it was a little bit weird. I remember the show was on, and I went to a fest. I went to like a carnival, and I was there with my partner and my daughter and all that sort of stuff, and my brother and his kids and his wife. And like people were just constantly coming up to me, getting photos, taking thing. And because like the show was still on, I was with my partner, but I couldn't actually be with my partner. We went
Yeah.
out for dinner later, and then there was people like taking photos of us eating dinner, and it was ending up in gossip magazines and all that sort of shit. People were like, you know, like posting articles about
Oh,
me. People were making up stories about you. People like just it was just the most random, bizarre shit. And like, you know, obviously because I don't know, I don't react, I don't buy into any of that.
hmm.
It goes away after a certain amount of time. But I feel like with my audience and the people who follow me and the people who sort of interact with me, it's a very genuine thing. It's not a for show thing
Yeah.
because you know like there is a lot of bravado with me and there is a lot of you know like I do like to show off every now and then. Don't get me wrong, but like it's more of a genuine follow and it's more of a genuine sort of interaction. It's more of a human interaction. They don't see me
Yeah.
as like you know like some sort of you know like big big wig celebrity. They see me more as you know like Anthony the father, the dork that I am at home, basically. Because you know you've seen like you know Tommy
Yeah.
Hellfire. It's all this big you know big macho bravado. You know like the crazy eyes and all that sort of shit. But like when I'm at home, man, I'm a total dork. I'm like yourself, you know. Like I
Yeah.
was born in
Oh,
'83,
thanks.
so yeah. Well, you know, you're a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had discussions,
Yeah.
but like you know, like, I'll be at home, you know, like dorking out over old Star Wars, reading. Like if you look over behind me over here, I don't know if you can see, I've got a row up the back there dedicated to Star Wars novels, not the canon ones, the Legends ones, the cool ones. And
Look at you.
yeah.
Undercover
I've got.
Star Wars nerd.
Oh my god, man! Talks the Darth Revan. You kidding me? I love it. My daughter got me this for Christmas. This is one of my favorite things. It says "Daddy," and on there it says, you know, as
Oh,
handsome as
that's
Han
cool.
Solo, as loyal as Luke, as wise as Yoda, as brave as Chewbacca, as tough as the Mandalorian, and as strong as Darth Vader. I'm pretty happy
Hey,
with it.
that's pretty
So yeah,
cool, man.
so I am quintessential total dork, and I think that's why my audience sort of relates to me the way that they do. There's no sort of expectations of you know like me you know like fleecing anybody like or anything like you know like or just milking it for the sake of milking it. You know I enjoy my life and I enjoy what I do and I share my life parts where I want to and people are yeah very genuine and very kind towards me. If I fuck up, then you know I fuck up. I deserve to cop shit for it. But you know, so
As a
far
human,
I've just been me.
But as a human, we all fuck up. We all do dumb
Of
shit.
course.
We all say dumb shit. And that's the thing where I think a lot of times, I think in today's society, it's like where like people are quick to just go, get rid of them, cancel them. They're done. Fuck off.
I've seen.
But it's just like, man, like when someone's 21, 22 and they say some dumb shit, like instead of canceling, can't we just like educate them and go, hey, dumb fuck, come here, talk to these two old fucking grizzled motherfuckers and let them tell you exactly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, educate people a little bit, because it's like if someone's young and they say something dumb or inappropriate,
yeah.
did they physically hurt someone? No. Like, it's words.
If Mafs came along 12 years ago, it would have been a completely different show. It would have been a total shit show. I would have been like the bigger heel than Bryce or any of them put together. You know, I would have been the world, Bryce or Sam or any of the bad guy heels on Mafs. I would have been them times 10. But like, it came to me in that point in my life where I had slowed down. I had sort of like got a lot of perspective. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky in that sense, you know.
Did you feel like with Mafs, like there was anyone that was there just for the clout? Like just chasing clout?
No. I mean, like when you're there, and this is not the fun answer where I'm just going to like start naming names or anything like that, because I'm not that dude. But like
no.
when you're there, like you sign up and you think, fuck, this will be an adventure. This will be fun. This will be all the cool things, right? And then then the producers start like, telling you about, hey, and they'll start getting in your head about like, love and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So they'll start putting they'll just start putting those things. So by the time you're actually on your wedding day, the last thing you're thinking about is clout. It's the last fucking thing on your mind. But like, having said that, there were a few people I got told, like we all did a social media training day. I got told there was a few of the girls that were asking about like collaborations and why can't they do them straight away.
Oh,
yeah, I won't name any names, but they're the main influences now. But like then again, like there's some people who say that they went on the show for genuine reasons, and there's a guy on this season I actually saw in one of the ads who cried when he was doing his vows, because obviously it fucking meant something to him. It fucking meant something to him, and he's a musician dude, so like I kind of feel like a bit of a kindred spirits towards musicians and other performers. They are essentially us and we are essentially them. We're creating our art, they're creating their art, so we all think the same. So to this dude, it meant something for him. And there was two girls on my show that have their own podcast, and when they saw this guy crying, they started throwing shame at him, saying that it made them sick that he was on there chasing clout, because when they went on, they went for real reasons. But this guy's just turning on the waterworks so he can get TV time and all that sort of shit. I thought that was mean. I thought that was genuinely not a nice thing to say, because they had their journey and this guy's just at the start of his journey. So I kind of feel like people just sort of like pile on, it's not so much for the clout or anything like that. It's just like a lot of people have been unchecked. They went on TV, they got a little bit of notoriety, and now they've got their own inflated sense of self, and it's unchecked. So they'll say shit like this and they'll judge people before they actually even meet them. And that's what happened to me when I first went into the Mafs. I did my first dinner party. I walked in. I don't know if you remember it or if you saw it.
I remember watching it. You got crucified almost, like it was daggers being thrown at you.
Holy shit, yeah. It felt like bloody fire. I was like walking into a bloody firing squad. And that's exactly what I got. It was one of the worst nights of my life. And when I watched it back, it was one of the worst nights of my life watching it back, because you're just like, holy shit. So for, the same people, sort of did that to me, to be sitting there like throwing judgment at other people is a little bit, like I cleared the air with them about my situation, but I kind of feel like this is another sort of situation like that, like where you need to sort of back off and let people have their moment and then judge them after the fact, not like just jump to a, like initial response. But that's just my opinion.
but if they're reacting to this guy crying and it's part of a clip, like they don't know the full fucking story of why he was crying. He could be up there going,
Fuck, he could have stubbed his fucking toe. You know, like
bro, like it could have been anything.
been a
It could have been
fucking
like
genuine.
it could have been his mum died a week before fucking hand, and he's like, "Fuck, I wish my mum was here to see my wedding day or my whatever." You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
It could be fucking anything, man. And it could be, you know, the fact that, you know, like he could have not had a girlfriend for the last blah 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 how many years, and all of a sudden here he is, and he's got his big opportunity, he's got his big chance, and it means something to him. But as I said, you don't know. He could have stubbed his fucking toe, and he could be crying because his toe hurts. We don't know, so we shouldn't judge until we know.
because that's the thing. It's people taking that little single narrative that they've seen and creating their own narrative about it, and then already judging this person and saying this guy is a fucking this and that. He's after clout. He's just trying to get whatever.
But
You don't know
somebody who's turned their Mafs fame into somebody who has turned their Mafs fame into a business should never ever say that somebody's on there for clout. Because
100%.
if they weren't on there for clout, if they would just have a regular 9 to 5, and that would be it. But unfortunately, it's not the world we live in, and people just rush to, you know, like people, as I said, unchecked. They go through. Nobody's keeping them in check. Everybody's just telling them how wonderful they are. Anybody who comments on this stuff, well, then they're just haters. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just. Yeah, and I get it, like, because I have seen a lot of comments, and people can be really fucking rude and not objective at all. It's just like jump straight to the throat. So, you know, I get it. You have those defenses up, and so I understand both sides of the scale. But like, I've been pretty lucky. I mean, like a lot of the times with my posts and all that sort of stuff, I get a lot of good reaction. I still have people say stuff about my wife, and I let it go. I can't respond to that. I'm not. I don't condone it. You know, like it's like there was enough negativity on the show. We don't need to keep bringing that up. She's got her life. I've got my life. We get along fine. Let's just leave it at that. So
Well,
you know,
she turned up at a wrestling show in Sydney with the Mafs guys that you guys were on, and like because that was the whole thing. I think a lot of people that were in the audience were like, "Holy shit, why is she here?" Like, didn't you and her hate each other? Like, we were like spinning out.
Nobody expected that. Neither did I.
Really? So this wasn't like because I like you know what I mean? Like because when
it was fun.
my wife
It was
asked
fun.
me, she's like,
Fun.
"Oh, it was the." Yeah, because my wife
Yeah,
asked me, she's
no.
like, "Oh, the Mafs guys turned up. This happened. This," and she goes, "Oh, did Anthony's Celine was it
Yeah,
Celine? Yeah." And she's like, "Did she turn up?" I said, "Actually, she did." She's like, "Was there fireworks?" I go, "It wasn't a fucking episode of Mafs, babe.
no,
Like, it
it
was
wasn't.
a
Definitely
show."
not an episode of Maths, and I'm not. You know, I'm not going to cause a public scene. I had bigger things to worry about that night. I had buddy Blake Stone to worry about. I had that big bastard to worry about. The last thing I'm going to worry about is like what is some he said she said stuff.
No,
To fucking
that
deal
was
with Blake Stone.
that was a fun show, man. Like all your Mafs mates got in there and had a bit of a crack and
Oh
had a bit of
yeah,
a laugh. So
Cody with the Batman suit. I'm still amazed. I don't know if you watched it back or anything like that, but Cody did this flip under. He jumped through off the ground, through the middle and the bottom rope into a forward roll and onto his feet. I'm
yeah, I
still,
saw that.
yeah, still every time I see him, I'm like, how the fuck did you manage that?
You know,
But
it's funny.
actually, we went to
I was going to say, but I'll cut you off real quick. But before the show, when those guys turned up, I was talking to a couple of the wrestlers, and one of the wrestlers goes, "Who the fuck are these guys? They're not even coming around shaking our hands. What the fuck?" About I'm like, "They're not workers, dude." And you're like,
yeah, they don't know.
"Oh, but they're before." I'm like, "Dude, if you're not a wrestler, you don't know the fucking.
No, nobody
You don't know
knows
the
that,
deal." If you're,
I'm not gonna tell like people showing up just to do like us a favor that, hey, you need to go around and shake everybody's hand because why? Like you know, like yeah, it's you know I understand where they're coming from, but like, come on, seriously,
you got to pick
we
your audience.
yeah, pick your audience, pick your thing. I mean, like we went the other week. We had a boxing show where Jackson took on what's his name? Oh God, shit, what's his name? Sam from the previous season. I can't remember his surname, but he took on Sam. And Brent from my season took on Daniel. And
okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So yeah, Daniel, the Heat Seeker. I love Daniel. He's so much fun. He's just he's you just he's got such a like a kind, sweet heart, but you're just waiting for him to say something that's going to piss somebody off. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys. You know, like one of those guys that you just like
no filter.
You love him a bit, but you know, as soon as somebody rubs him the wrong way, he's not going to fucking hold back, and he's just going to tell them exactly how he feels, and it's going to offend everybody in the room. I love it. I love it. You're always watching Daniel just sort of sit there like, and then out he comes with it.
So he does it intentionally or unintentionally?
I think that's just him, mate. He grew up hard too, so like he's got a whole lot of like it's like a defense thing with him. I think, you know, like he sort of senses, you know, like sort of senses danger, or somebody's, you know, like taking the piss, or somebody's, you know, like being disrespectful or whatever, or however you perceive it. And he's always the chamber is always loaded with him. Always. And
those are the ones that get into most trouble, bro.
Yeah, I love that about him. But him and Brent, they had their boxing match and they went the distance, and I'm proud of both of them. Brent got in there, like, you know, he's clearly not the same size as Daniel, but he got in there and he gave it a good red hot crack. And you know, Daniel came away with a win, but man, it was such a like it's watching two brothers fight, you know, because I love both of those dudes, but you know, like shit, somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. But I don't think Brent didn't lose any face losing that match, but Daniel clearly won that fight. So that was a bit it was weird to watch, you know, like you were waiting.
Where was the fight at? Was it in Melbourne?
This was in Melbourne. Yeah, this was in Melbourne, at the Melbourne Pavilion. But earlier in the night, we had Jackson versus Sam. And I think it was the third round. Jackson caught Sam with the right hand, and Sam just folded in half. And you never want to see somebody get knocked out. You never want to see anybody hurt. But it's like watching the UFC when it happens. It's just so fucking satisfying to watch. You know, like you see this guy just like sort of like fold in half, go down, and Jackson standing there, hero pose. He won. And as I said, you know, you hate to see somebody get watched out, but Jesus Christ, that was a sweet shot. Sweet shot, straight right, straight to the jaw, and he went down like a sack of shit.
But you know
what? Having said that, like full respect to him, man. Like Jesus.
But that's the thing, like a lot of these I've seen recently, like a boxing promotion in, I think it was in Sydney, got like these TikTokers that were having feuds and shit, like these young 20-year-old like Lebanese girls from Bankstown in there to fight, and they're like both out of shape, have like no training or skill whatsoever. And like I watched the fight and it was just like just a train wreck. It was like
the shits. Yeah.
Like I can't watch, but I can't look away. And it's
but
like
that's the whole thing with TikTok, isn't it? You can't watch because it's so dumb, but you can't look away. But at the same time, because it was like TikTok is like, were the rounds like 10-second rounds that you just swipe past, or like what was the deal? Did they gimmick it up?
No, this was like a legit event that they held in like some place in Sydney. There was fucking thousands of people there at this thing. Like I'm pretty sure it was on like Fight TV or some shit. And it was like the TikTok. I was like, they had all these TikTokers fighting each other. I'm just like, fucking
that's
hell.
Unreal, isn't it? It's like, isn't it funny just how like boxing's just sort of like making this almost like sort of retro comeback, you know? Like all of a sudden people know, like, you know, more than 3 heavyweight names. You know, back in the day it was, you know, like you could name everybody in the heavyweight division, and then it just sort of went away. And now all of a sudden, like, you know, with Tyson Fury and all these, you know, like all these other guys, it's just becoming a more acceptable, I don't know, like more mainstream again, like boxing. Even the friggin' Paul brothers are just killing it in the boxing scene.
Well, I think MMA started and UFC did their thing, and you know, like for the longest time, like probably early to mid 2000s to like the 2010s when like MMA was
Monopoly.
probably like at its peak. But then it's like guys wanted to fight in the UFC, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, we're getting paid $3,000 to fight, and out of that, we have to pay our trainers, we have to pay our managers, and at the end of it, after doing a 3-month camp, they're left with $1,000. Like, it's not MMA. The money isn't there unless you're like a Conor McGregor or a Nate Diaz or like a big name. That's why, like, I think you see like bare knuckle fighting over in the States now is actually signing like a lot of like guys that are coming off contract to UFC, like Mighty Mouse, for example. He went and signed with ONE FC. You know what I mean? Because Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's been fighting with for ONE for a while. I think he's their flyweight champ or their bantamweight champ or some shit.
That's a hell of a name, Mighty Mouse. Give me a look. Sorry, don't mind me. I just have to know. Mighty Mouse, UFC, Demetrius Johnson, mixed martial
He's a little shredded, dude. He's a little shredded.
Oh, yeah. I can see that. Yeah, I can see why Mighty Mouse is shredded little dude.
Yeah, he's a gun.
86, 5'3". Jesus Christ, he's the same height as Prince.
But you know what? Like, but that's why I think boxing had a downfall, and I think even pro wrestling around that same time had a downfall as well. It's like not a downfall, but I think popularity
had the monopoly. Yeah, they had they had the monopoly on the industry because it was new and it was exciting. And they were doing pro wrestling better than pro wrestling. Like everybody remembers the Frank Mir and Brock Lesnar fights. Everybody remembers the bloody because that's all it was. It was just pro wrestling, just two dudes talking shit and then they fight. There's been so many awesome feuds like that.
Do you remember Lesnar's promo after the fight?
Oh yeah, I remember with the horseshoe, you're gonna pull that some bitch out of his ass. I remember his one after Randy Couture.
Was it that fight? And he's like, I'm gonna what is it? I'm gonna have a Coors Light, not a Bud Light, because Bud Light doesn't pay me shit. And then I'm gonna go and get on top of my wife or something. I'm like, what the fuck?
I remember Randy Couture's retort to that. He goes, well, is that the only time you do get on top of your wife?
Man, you gotta feel sorry for Sable though. Fuck, that guy's a big dude.
I don't even want to think about it. What did Joe Rogan say in his comedy special? Like Brock Lesnar would use him as a condom.
To fuck something bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, smash.
My God, man! But he's still going. But even still, like even him now, you can see like parts of his fun side of his personality coming out, which you never saw before. Maybe that's just because he's just gotten older and he just doesn't have the same, just not as full as the same amount of piss and vinegar. He's just more settled in himself. I'm not sure what's going on there, but he's a different Brock Lesnar. He's not that you wouldn't.
You know what he does? He opens up his bank account and goes, "Yep, let's go."
Yeah, clicks it open. He goes, "I'm good. Yeah, I'm going to smile today." There's the thing though, like you look at Brock Lesnar now, happy, smiley Brock Lesnar compared to the Brock Lesnar that took on Mark Hunt. It's two different people, isn't it?
100%.
Granted, the guy that took on Mark Hunt popped dirty. It's Brock Lesnar now doesn't look like he's taken anything.
except KFC, but
you still wouldn't fuck with him though, would you?
Oh, absolutely not, man. But he's one of those just big ass country boys, man. Like just
they breed him different, don't they?
They do, man. They do. Like have you seen his daughter?
Yes.
Yeah, that poor girl. Like that's
you wouldn't mess with her either. But it's the same thing. Like if you go out for like a drink in the city and you're just talking shit with people, there's like a certain energy, right? But if you go out to the country and you're at a pub and you start talking shit, you notice there's like a different sort of like there's a country boy energy about it. You just don't fuck with these guys.
Yeah, you
all they do is. Yeah, all they do is drink and fight.
Yeah,
when you're in the city, it's a little bit more like, yeah, whatever, man. But out there, you just don't mess with people. But like, then you've got the manifestation of like, 50 of them rolled into one, and that's Brock Lesnar.
Oh, exactly, man. He's the alpha male of the fucking human species, man. Just look at
Oh
him.
my god, man! Yeah. I remember
You know?
hearing a story. Chavo Guerrero came and he did a seminar with us, and he was telling us about like Brock Lesnar was getting interviewed in his barn. And this was like years ago, and there was like some birds tweeting in the background. So they had to like keep waiting for these birds to stop tweeting. And like Brock Lesnar wasn't going to wait around. This was, he was like 24 or 25 at the time or whatever. And he just climbed up the thing, grabbed this thing of birds and just fucking took out this bloody nest of birds because it was
Fuck,
ruining the shot. I know, right?
that's fucking brutal.
That's fucking, it's insane. I would have just been like, you know what? We'll just go next door. It's fine. We'll get the shot.
We'll move 20 meters to the left.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's a nice day. I'll go stand under the tree.
But
I'm not going to get up there and murder a nest of fucking birds. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but could you imagine seeing Brock Lesnar just fucking shimmying up a fucking tree to get you know what I mean? To get a nest.
I imagine it'd be like one of those zombie movies where he would just like sort of like take off like you know what I mean? Like, they run with the two paws at the same time. Like,
yeah.
Two front paws, there'd be Brock Lesnar heading up the tree. Do you imagine the birds' faces? Like,
at that stage, the birds couldn't fly quick enough, man. Fuck.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, like, after like getting back into the wrestling, coming out of Mafs and stuff like that, MCW, PWA, EPW, some of the biggest companies in Australia, we haven't seen you wrestle for since coming off of Mafs. Is that something that we're going to see you going into in 2023, wrestling for more interstate promotions, wrestling for some of the bigger promotions in the country as well?
I think like with me and MCW, and I've worked with PWA with the Lucha shows, and it was what it was. As I said, at the time, we sort of like self-sabotage yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things where I left. It was like, okay, cool. We'll just, like we work together. We'll leave it at that. We'll just keep moving on. MCW, I don't know if you remember, I told the story. I used to actually own MCW. I was one of the founding members of MCW.
Oh,
and we
really?
had a bit of a no, I'm pretty sure I did.
Oh, did you? Okay, sorry, I thought.
Yeah, you can edit that part out. So I was a founding member of MCW, and I don't know, like a lot of sort of things happened, a lot of sort of like inexperience on my part, bringing in certain people, and working with certain people. It just got to the point for me where I sort of walked away from MCW, and it's been like there's been no ill will towards MCW, but at the same time, I mean, like if they ever called, I would take that call, but at the same time, I'm not reaching out to them, and you know what I mean. Like it's one of those things. Like I've got my PCW crew there that I'm really I love, and the people I get to work with is amazing. Steve Pullen, the guy, one of the owners, me and him have known each other for like 16, 17 years, and it's just been a journey. And the fact that I'm on that journey with him now, and we've got all these amazing wrestlers that if I were to go to like MCW or PWA, like they're the kind of guys I'd want to work with. I've been working with guys like Robbie Thorpe, Ryan Rapid, just to name two. There's other guys at PWA who are venturing out, who are young, that I want to work with. I'd love to work with JJ Furno.
He's
Castone. Yeah, JJ Furno is incredible. Castone is another PCW mainstay who I think is criminally like underrated. I think he can go. At the same time, on the weekend, like a PCW stalwart like Daniel Swagger came back, and we did a little bit of business together. Kicked me in the face, but we did business together. But it's been, I mean, like, as I said, if a call did come through, I would take it. But at the same time, I consider what I do to be big time anyway. Like you consider in the wrestling industry, you'll say, oh, it's MCW or it's PWA or all that sort of stuff. But PCW sold out on the weekend. It's like a 500 seat arena that they've got.
That's
and
not
they
a
sold
small.
out.
That's not a
It's not
small.
a small.
Man.
It's not
That's
a
massive.
small.
That's massive.
Yeah,
That's
it's fucking. It's big, but at the same time, because it's not marketed towards like, it's marketed towards more sort of a family sort of thing. Like it sort of goes a little bit under the radar. But like, yeah, we sold like 500 tickets for that show, and my name was on top of the marquee, and it was an amazing show. I got to wrestle Matt Hayter from RCW. He's their champion.
Good dude.
Good dude, and for his age, so measured. Like in the ring, just measured. Like he's incredible, and I consider that like just as good as like working on a PWA or MCW show. I get to work with these people anyway, and I get to work with an environment that I think has been very supportive of me over the years. And
100%.
Man, 500 people saw the show, and it's online Fight Network, so it's not like sort of going anywhere. It's to me,
do you feel like it's like the family orientated shows don't get the same respect as the ones that go for more of the adult orientated shows? Is that what you were saying like earlier?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like like I've been to like some of these shows where like it's geared towards like a wrestling audience.
Yeah.
I don't know how else you'd put it, like a wrestling audience.
Smart
People
marks.
that come away, smart marks, or however you want to put it, where people sort of come away and they talk about like work rate, and that's like a joke I had backstage PCW. Like it was really good work rate, fellas, really good work rate.
That's like that's like workhorse. You know what I mean? Like how people go, the Intercontinental is the workhorse title. That wrestler is a real workhorse. No one in the bit, like I know a lot of veterans from like over in the States.
Says that.
And it's
Nobody says that.
Like I made that comment, and like Angel, who I know really well, who was in the Baldies, he's like, bro, no one in the fucking business says fucking workhorse. He goes, that's a fucking line that Marks came up with, bro. He goes, no, he goes, we call him a solid hand, a solid worker, whatever. Like, he goes, no one got caught. Yeah. Goes, oh man, I'm a workhorse. I just fucking gave a workhorse match. He's like, no one does that.
Nobody says that. And if you come backstage and say that you just had a workhorse match, you might as well go and suck your own dick. Because that's basically what you're doing.
It's always licking your own balls.
Yeah, exactly. It was Rowdy Roddy Piper says drinking your own bath. No, that was Paul Orndorff, drinking your own bath water. So what we're talking about, like the crowds, like a sort of a smart mark crowd versus a family crowd. I mean, smart mark crowds are fun. Don't get me wrong; they are very fun because they don't know how easily they are to wind. They don't know how easy they are to wind up. They really don't. They think, you getting under this. They think that they're getting under your skin when really it's you, the one who's getting under their skin, and it's fun. They don't realize that they've just been worked. They'll want, they'll go, oh, like they want to see something, you take it away from them, and then they'll go, oh, God, fuck that guy, fuck this, blah, 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 blah. They don't realize it's gold, and they just got a whole lot louder. So everything that they're trying to take away from you by saying, like, by commenting that, you're this or you're that, pretty much giving you everything that you want. And it's the kids in the crowd that bring the family, they're the ones that like spend the most money. So you know what I mean? Like it's a weird little paradox that I don't think they've quite figured yet. Whereas a show like PCW, you've got that mix, and a lot of the wrestling fans that do come to this show they're smart to the business, but they're not. But they're willing to enjoy and get sucked up into the character of the show. You know what I mean? But like PCW, their crowd is. Oh man, it's a fun crowd. I'll give it that much.
You know what? I've worked shows that are the smart mark crowds, and I've worked shows that are the family crowds. And you know what? To be honest, like the shows that are the family crowds can be a lot of fun Because like the kids get a chance to scream and get loud. And it's like, you know, that show that we did for AWE, St. George's Basin, that was like down south of
Oh,
Sydney.
yeah. That was fun.
Like
That was fun.
How fucking fun was that show? And these people were like, oh my God, I've got to come back to this show. I've got to come.
I worked with Otis that night. That was so much fun because we just basically we knew the audience, we knew you knew the audience, you knew how they were going to sort of react, and we just sort of like went into it. I mean, at the same time, you know, like I'm not that kind of wrestler like that sort of exposes the business when I work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that, you know, like I see a lot of stuff online. There was a clip the other week of somebody had some dude on a board and he was like shaking the board so it was going up into the dude's tank. Did you see that?
Yeah.
You saw that one? Yeah. Like I'm not into that. Like when you come to see a wrestling match with me, it's not a wrestling match, it's a fight.
Yeah.
You know, this is a fight. And I'm in that mode of like, all right, cool, this is a fight. Whereas like we also do the lucha shows right down here in Melbourne, and they're up there in Sydney as well. Those are the ones where you can sort of like, where the smart marks can come to those shows, but at the same time, it's not like a smart mark show. But like that's just like fucking wrestling theater, wrestling cabaret. It's the most amazing shit. The other week, I got heat on a wrestler. I put him in the corner. I got a drink out of got a drink from somebody in the crowd, and I just started throwing ice cubes from this drink at this person in the corner. Like,
That is awesome.
And that's just like sort of shit, you know, like you do on the fly. I had my opponent. He proposed to. No, my tag partner was. I was like the third wheel in this love triangle, and my tag partner. He proposed to our opponent, and he had to pull a cock ring off me.
Oh, what the?
Got a great big pull to propose to opponent. And these are audience. These are over 18 audiences, obviously.
Yeah.
But these are the people that are there for fun. You know, like we've conditioned them. Like, you know, wrestling's you get all the high flying shit, but at the same time, when people leave, they don't remember the foot that you did. They remember the moment you created. And I think a lot of people sort of get lost in that. I'm going to do this move and then I'm going to do that move. And I've seen a lot of people that have their matches planned out spot for spot for spot. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and then I'm going to do that. And then this is where we pause for applause. So the audience is conditioned for that. But one of my favorite matches, my favorite workers of all time, Shawn Michaels. But you watched his match with the Undertaker, right? WrestleMania 25 was the first one. So you watch that one there, and not once do they sit there and like they're taking breaks and they're selling but it always felt real and it never felt like they were pausing for applause. You know what I mean?
100%.
So because they're creating a moment, you know, and like Shawn Michaels' match with Kurt Angle, same thing. The crowd, when you've got a match that's so fucking good that the crowd aren't chanting this is awesome because they're so invested in what you're doing, that's when you've got magic. And I feel
100%,
like
you're lost in that moment when the crowd can get lost in that moment and sit there, and it's like, dude, like for someone like me, I actually found myself like that a couple of months ago. I was reviewing an NXT show and I was watching this match, and it was a really good match with Cameron Grimes, who used to wrestle as Trevor Lee, and he was wrestling Carmelo Hayes. And like, I was not a big fan of Carmelo. I kind of liked Cameron Grimes' work, but I was like, whatever. But this match that these guys had was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I was halfway through the match, I'm like, fuck, I'm supposed to be writing shit down for this, eh? Like, you know what I mean? Like, halfway through, I'm just like, because I was just in the moment. I don't know if it was like I had one too many red wines with dinner, but I was like, this is
amazing.
Match,
it's an amazing feeling, isn't it? Like that's what I fell in love with wrestling, because when you're a kid, you know, like Ravishing Rick Rude didn't roll around on the floor and then turn around and like wait for the crowd to like, you know, do the mutual standoff so the crowd can applaud him. You know, like Ravishing Rick Rude was going for the win, you know what I mean? Or Ravishing Rick Rude was selling. He was doing something, you know, he was earning your applause, not just fucking standing there expecting it. And I find that like I've seen matches, man, like where the crowd is making no fucking noise, and then all of a sudden somebody will, this is awesome, and then blah blah blah, and then but the match, it's just like because they're doing all the right things, but the crowd isn't reacting. But somebody's like, oh, we're conditioned. This is where we're supposed to start the "This is awesome" chant. I've always been of the mindset if they're chanting "This is awesome," they're not, and I think like Vince Russo's said it before. You work for the Vince Russo thing, like it's cheerleading. It's not used to. Sorry,
It's all good. It's
it,
recent.
yeah, it's cheerleading. It's not like being invested in the show. It's being a cheerleader. And if I'm paying money to be entertained, I want to be entertained. I'm not going to try and hijack the show. I want them to entertain me. I want to be lost in what they're doing. And if there's like pausing for applause or, like they have a match and at the end of it, they stop and shake hands for no reason, all that sort of shit just annoys me. So,
I'm
God,
the
I
same.
just
I
went on a
actually
bit
had
of a tangent, didn't I?
I actually had Mitch Waterman on the other day, and we are talking about things that annoy us in wrestling. And one of the things that I said was the fact when I see someone, and I did the same thing when I was a kid watching ECW when I saw Taz do it, is when I see someone take a fucking move like a power bomb or a pile driver, and then they pop back up and
Oh,
just
yeah.
nothing
Like it
like
didn't
that.
happen. Yeah,
That
like it didn't
irritates
happen.
me. That and Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy, really? Yeah, no, he's. But the thing with Orange Cassidy is you can watch him. I've watched him plenty, and he can fucking genuinely go. It's just the whole pockets gimmick, isn't it? Where he walks up and just sort of like slightly kicks them. Like, why wouldn't you? The one thing that annoys me, and I don't care. I'll sound like old man waving his fucking fist at the crowd. Old man yells at crowd. The pass through when somebody runs the ropes and the other dude puts his hand on the back and passes them through as they're running by. Why wouldn't you just fucking clothesline them? Why the fuck are you passing them through? Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're
When they do
passing.
that.
Yeah. Like somebody, like they'll do something, they'll hit the ropes, and the other dude will just like sidestep them and pass them through. Put his hand on the back and pass them through so they can run the ropes and come back at them. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Or when
Or the 10, you know what the thing is?
Oh no, the 10 punch is as old as time. The one that
that's when I knew wrestling was a work. Was when someone would stand above, do the 10 punches like that. And because like at a young age, I was in boxing, I was in like rugby and contact sport. I know if you get hit in the fucking face, you're going to have a fucking bruise, or that person hits like a bitch. So if someone hits like a bitch and they're standing above you like that and you're not doing anything except like that, looking at their fucking balls, bro. But as a kid, I saw that and I was like, but that was the same thing with someone like someone whipping someone off into the ropes. It's like, why wouldn't you just stop?
Yeah. Well, here's the other one that annoys me. When somebody reverses a whip, right? So you got them against the ropes, you reverse, you go to take them off, and then you reverse the whip. The other person, instead of going from where they've been reversed, will spin and run back to the ropes whilst you're holding them, and then reset. It just I don't know if I described that right. It happened with me, a dude in Sydney, and I remember just thinking it was the dumbest fucking shit. Like, I'm using my momentum to whip you, but as soon as I turn it around, you're running yourself back into the ropes to do the thing. It's like, shouldn't I be able to just whip you? Like, why the fuck are you like? But it's all to set up for these pretty ballerina spots, and like I find that a lot of the times, and probably like people probably roll their eyes at this, but man, like fuck, dude, I can't watch the Young Bucks because I just like to me it's so overkill. There's no emotional connection to what's happening because they're just, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and everything's going to look really fucking pretty. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I want to see two dudes. I want to see people fight. I want to see like people like into it. Like there is a fucking reason. Like FTR amazing. But like these guys, I just don't get into it. Like I remember growing up.
I'm the same. I think the Young Bucks are like just. I don't know, bro. They like, you know what I mean? Like I look at the Young Bucks and it's like people that I looked at that were in wrestling as a kid, look like they could kick your ass. Like, I look at the Young Bucks and go, bro, my 6-year-old could kick the shit out of both of you motherfuckers at one time. You know what I mean? Like,
but here's the thing: is they do their athletic gymnastics stuff so proficient, and they always put like way more in the match when they need to. But like by the end of it, I'm burnt out. Like I'll watch a match and I'll go, why did that keep them down? But the 50 other million moves that they hit before it that looked way more dangerous, how come that didn't keep them down? Like, why is that move? You know, so it's like guys like Stone Cold, you know, like The Rock, you know, John Cena, all these people, you believe them because they carry themselves with such, like conviction. They carry themselves in this, conviction. And when they work, everything that's slowed down and it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, but like with these ones here, it's just go, 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 go. And by the time it's over, you feel like, you know, like you've just like had a eclipsion or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a epileptic seizure or something. Like, what the fuck just happened? But those are my biggest gripes in wrestling, man. The pass through, and when you reverse the whip, the other dude runs back to the corner before he actually gets whipped. It just annoys the shit out of me. And the Young Bucks. You know, I have this argument with I've got a friend of mine who's a Mark, and he comes to some of the shows, and whenever we talk about AEW, he always goes like, I really like the Young Bucks match. I'm like, you really don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Like, give me CM Punk any day of the week.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Like AEW, I found like anytime I've ever tried to sit down and watch it, and I probably tried to watch it a couple of months ago, I sit down and I get about 5 minutes in, and I'm just like, nope. I can't. I feel like it insults my intelligence.
I think it's like the thing that bothered me when I was watching AEW was that like every match had to have like somebody like had to have a posse. They had to walk in with a posse or something like that, you know, and it just kind of got like to the point like, holy shit, like stop with the possies. Yeah, but like somebody have a new posse, somebody had this, somebody that. Anyway,
the difference between AEW and WWE, I find, is Tony Khan is a indie booker with a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar budget behind him. And I don't think AEW does good storytelling. I think that they go, right, what are we going to do on the Today Show? All right, we're going to do this, 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 and this. Okay, cool. Let's go do that. And it's like long-term planning for storylines. Like when MJF came back and did the return and won that fucking gimmick thing, right? They had him. Yeah, but you know what? He does that one night. He does that. He does like the MJF mannerisms. And then an hour later at the end of the show, they fucking just give the whole fucking cow away. So they could have played this out for a month to 2 months, had him come out the following night, do fucking someone else's mannerisms, going, who the fuck, my God, who's the number one contender? Who is this guy under the... And you could build this fucking thing and build suspenseful television where it's like, they just don't do that.
But you compare this to WWE, which has been totally unwatchable for years, right? I mean, like now we say like, oh, since now
no. I'm not sitting here saying WWE does everything all right.
Oh my God, man, I couldn't watch WWE for years because it was there was no stories, there was no reason to watch it. This person will wrestle this person, then the next week they'll wrestle again, but the other person will win. Then the week after they'll have a tag team match, and the week after they'll have another tag team match. The problem is, I find with WWE, and I think what they should really look at doing. I don't want to listen to little old me. Back in the day, they had their brand only pay-per-views.
Yeah,
it'd be a Raw pay-per-view, it'd be a SmackDown pay-per-view. So when you watch Raw and when you watch SmackDown, there was a reason to watch it because it's building to something. Now we have these fucking like a 3-hour show over here and a 2-hour show over here. And every month they'll have like 2 matches from each show or whatever it is on these things. And there's like a million other wrestlers under there who can work and who are good, but don't have a storyline because there's going to be no payoff to it. Whereas back in the day, that's how you got like guys over, like, you know, like you had that amazing run from Paul London and Brian Kendrick. You know what I mean? Yes. Because they had the space to do it. You know, like Ken Kennedy got so hot on SmackDown, obviously didn't pan out, but like he had the space to do it. You know, like Eddie Guerrero was the champion because he had the space to do it. Whereas now there is no space. You got a 3-hour fucking show that's got like no payoff in the end because they have to share those payoff shows with all these other ones. So instead of like having an actual payoff, they'll just circle the fucking drain. You know, like, all right, cool. Will you wrestle in the next week and you wrestle in the next week after that?
But that's the thing. WWE has so much talent under their fucking their contract, under the contract, that it comes down to it's like, you know, and you even saw this when they had, I think, Braun Strowman a year ago when they released him. This guy going in and saying, "I don't want to do that." Blah 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 blah. Okay, no problem. You don't want to do it, no problem. We'll release you because we got 100 marks down in NXT that we can bring up that would love to take your spot right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then straight step into that. So, but you know, I think that that's the thing, like wrestling at the moment where like those companies, they're just trying to put as many people under contract as possible so they can just, you know, stop them from going elsewhere.
10 years ago, I would have loved one of those.
That's it, man. But you know what, man? We're going into nearly an hour and a half here, bro, and the time just flies.
We do that, don't we?
Bro, it's great having
you. Do you get this amount of time out of everybody else, or is it just me?
Sometimes, man. Sometimes it's, you know, it's a good conversation when you can look at the time and go, "Holy shit, it's been nearly an hour and a half," and it just feels like 10 minutes. But, dude, we've left it too long from the first time, so we got to get you back on again very soon, man.
No worries, man. No worries. It's been a pleasure as always. I look forward to our next encounter.
Absolutely, man. Where can everyone find you on social media and get some Tommy Hellfire merch? And where can they keep an eye out for you?
All right, so check me out I've got the Tommy Hellfire Instagram, just one word, Tommy Hellfire. That's where I post all my shows and all that sort of stuff. I've got the Anthony Cincotta Instagram there. That's where you'll see all my funky little influencer family stuff and me just being me. I've also got my Not So Hellfire Instagram page as well. So I have a radio show there on Bondi Radio. That'll be starting back up again very shortly. Just locking down our first few guests. Once we've got that back up, yeah, come and check us out. There's always stuff to thing. If you're a wrestler or anything like that, drop us a line or always give you a follow back. Workers look after workers.
100%, man. Appreciate you coming on, and we definitely have to do this again very soon, man. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Make sure you click like, share, subscribe, give us a 5-star review on any of those podcast platforms. I appreciate it. It helps with our analytics, helps us grow this podcast even further and bring it to more amazing people. So make sure you click that little red link and tap in to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. Tommy Hellfire, I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for coming on.
Love your work, brother.
Peace.